All you have to do is close your eyes and listen.
Welcome to episode 54 of TSGG Chat. I'm your host, Kevin Bork. With me this week, we've got Kailey. Hey, Kailey.
Hey, everybody.
And that's it. It's just the two of us. And it is E3 week, part 2. It's over.
Yep.
What a E3 it was.
I'm still reeling a little bit from everything that we saw.
So many games this year. I loved it.
I was blown away by a lot of different things.
You were blown away?
You know what I was blown away by.
You were blown away by one game, and one game only.
And a special surprise.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I wouldn't call it a blown away E3. I think that's going to be next year, but we'll talk about that in a little while. You can watch us record this show live at mixer.com/TSGG_online. Or you can watch it at youtube.com/The Society on Friday. You can also get the audio version on YouTube and all of the major podcast services like Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and more. Both versions post on Fridays, and they will always be free. You can be part of the show by writing in your questions or comments to tsggchat@gmail.com. I encourage you all to do so. If you want to help us continue to grow, please consider becoming a Level 1 member at patreon.com/TSGG. For $1 a month, you will get early access to the ad-free versions of this show on Thursdays, and we always answer Patreon member questions on the show first. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at TheSosGG, at Kevin_Bork, at TSGG_Brett, at Shippy_D, at Guyon Gaming, and at Kailey Gardens, to stay up to date on recording times and all other info, or maybe you just want to say,
hey, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is E3. So, naturally, the entire show will be news, because so much has come out of this show. We had our predictions. Some of them were okay. Most of them didn't happen. But that's all right.
A lot of us were a little ambitious for our predictions.
One thing that did happen, and we're going out of script here because we're doing things a little different because there's so much information coming out of E3. We're going to break this up into 4 shows. This is show number 1, and there was actually things that happened prior to E3 coverage. So it started a little bit earlier this year, so in this episode, we're going to be talking about the Pokemon Direct and the Google Stadia Connect and the Bungie stream that they did after the Stadia Connect, talking about the future of Destiny 2. So, up first is the Pokemon Direct. I guess you want to start with, we can start with that. And, we're having some technical difficulties, so bear with us a moment.
So, our Pokemon Direct was, in typical Nintendo fashion, excellently put together. It delves into the Sword and Shield world. It features the...
Pokemon Sword and Shield was detailed, and we have brand new Pokemon shown. The world is gigantic. It's basically Breath of the Wild in the Pokemon realm. You have so much to do there. They introduced multiplayer raid battles. They introduced new gyms, new arenas, a lot going on there.
And you can't forget the newest aspect of the Pokemon battles, the Dynamax.
Yeah, the Dynamax. So Dynamax raid battles are a thing. Plus, you have you can turn your Pokemon into the Dynamax form. This is strictly for the Galar region, and it's a new mechanic. But you only get 3 moves when you're in Dynamax form. So when you're doing a raid battle, the enemy is always in the Dynamax form for the entirety of the battle. But when you're doing a normal battle, or even if you are in the Dynamax raid, if you're in a Dynamax raid, only one of the players can transform into Dynamax, and they have 3 moves. And that's it.
Dynamax makes them enormous, which is totally different from any other Pokemon game, which is actually really cool, and I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out. They did have a pretty nice little trailer. I would definitely encourage you to go check out the Pokemon Sword and Shield Direct. It's only about 15 minutes, so it's really not a long one. And they have a lot of information from the developers.
Also, well, that was announced in E3. I'm trying to... Pokemon Sword and Shield was at E3 as well, so more information was revealed there. I'm trying to keep the information strictly to the Pokemon Direct, so it's getting difficult at this point because we've seen so much gameplay over the last week. But the traversal of it and the exploration is super smooth when you see the gameplay, and in the major wild area, they call it, which is a huge zone, you can have online or offline, and other players, you will see them if you're online there, and you still can summon them to trade and do trainer battles as well. So it's looking to shape up like this is the Breath of the Wild of Pokemon.
And each area has different specialties too. So that in like the mountain region has different types of things that you can do, which I think is pretty normal for Pokemon games. But it definitely is a very beautiful game. I'm very much looking forward to playing it. I think we're going to actually get both. They have a bundled copy where you can have both of them, and that way we don't have to pick one or the other. But I know Kevin's made his decision.
Yes. Have you made yours, I guess? You've made yours?
Well, if we're going to get both, I guess I'm going to do the opposite one from you. So I guess I'll be Sword. Kevin's been Team Shield since the announcement was made.
This is true. So let's see. I'm trying to look up some. Oh, yeah. So the release date was announced. That's November 15th, 2019. So you have the regular version of Sword, regular version of Shield, and they do have the combo pack, which is basically the price of the two of them together. There's no discount on that. It's just for people that want both, I guess. Professor Magnolia is serving as the region's Pokemon professor. And there's a character named Hop, who is going to be your rival throughout the campaign. The current champion is named Leon, and Hop is Leon's younger brother. So you'll be adventuring together throughout the course of the game. And we started to talk about the Dynamax raid battles a little bit. And these can be done locally with multiple systems, and this is a feature of the Nintendo Switch that does, it's called ad hoc. So if Kailey and I were playing our Switches right now, we could connect wirelessly without a network connection. The Switch is capable of connecting multiple devices together to play together locally. Or you can go online and play as well.
It's kind of like with the 3DS. It's like an upgraded version of the 3DS.
Same feature. They brought it over. Yep. Some Pokemon, you're going to want to do these battles. Like these raid battles are 4-player co-op battles. So you want to pair up locally or online if you can. And locally, I think, would be the better option because you're going to want to discuss and strategize. You can meet up online and go through the Nintendo app on your phone and do voice chat that way, but there's no built-in voice chat on Nintendo Switch, so it's kind of a bummer, but
they might address that someday.
yeah, like maybe there's rumors of it, but we'll see when we get there. But for now, if you have the opportunity to play the multiplayer raids locally, I highly recommend doing it. That way you can strategize and figure out who's going to go Dynamax, stuff like that.
I definitely foresee you, me, and the boys getting in on the rating.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's going to be awesome because the Dynamax raids in the wild area, they're like these red-looking wells. And when Pokemon are inside, there's a beam of light that you can see coming through it. And that's when you go there and you summon your team and you go in for the battle. And some Pokemon are exclusively available through Dynamax raid battles. So you're gonna want to do them if you're on the quest to catch them all.
There's definitely incentive to do the battles.
And at E3, it was announced that there are 900 Pokemon to catch. So
you're gonna be busy.
You want to catch them all.
You're gonna be
take
busy.
You some time. But so the raid mechanic just looks really, really cool. Like at E3, Nintendo did their Treehouse Live for 3 days, and one of the videos is Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I believe it's 30 minutes long of gameplay. So you're definitely going to want to check that out if you're a fan. But the raid battles, when you're going through there and you finally defeat the boss, every player has a chance to capture the raid boss. And not every player is going to capture them, as traditional Pokemon style dictates. But even if you don't, they said that every player is going to receive rewards for completing the raid, so you can get exclusive rewards in there. I don't know if they're exclusive, but I'm assuming that you get higher tier stuff in there.
So again, there's more incentive to do the raids, and even if you don't catch the boss, you at least get something for your trouble.
And it's very important to remember that Dynamax will only last 3 turns, and you can't use it more than once in an entire match. Not once per Pokemon, once in an entire match.
So
and in the raid battles,
plan your Dynamax appropriately.
Yeah.
However, I would strongly encourage you all to go check it out because it's so cool looking. Definitely a lot different from many of the other Pokemon things that I've ever seen.
And so the region is gigantic. The map is gigantic. So when you're traveling around, giant ravens are taxiing you to locations. And this Pokemon is called Corviknight. So you're going to get Corviknight early in the game, and that will serve as your taxi. And that's a brand new Pokemon to this game. And also a brand new Pokemon to this game is called the Dreadnought, which I cannot wait to get. That's the one we are calling Chewy Chomps.
Yep.
And they showed off Gossifleur as well, a brand new one. And they showed the evolution of Gossifleur that turned into Eldegoss. And they also showed off Wooloo, a sheep type of Pokemon.
I'm very interested in seeing all the evolutions as well. I've always enjoyed that about the Pokemon games.
And then they showed off a little bit of the gym battles, and you were able to see the water type was the water type gym champion you saw at E3, and the one at the Pokemon Direct was, I don't remember which one it was. I apologize. Like I said, so much information.
Well, either way, the Pokemon Direct is about 15 minutes, and that really concisely shows you everything that you need to know about the new game. So I would very much strongly encourage you to just look it up on Nintendo's YouTube. It's really pretty and has a lot of information.
Yeah, it's over on YouTube. I'm trying to figure out which one that was.
He's focused.
I am.
Either way, have you decided which one of the 3 that you'd want to play to start with?
The 3 starters. So the water type one is Sobble. The grass type. Oh, that's what it was. It was the grass type champion. The grass type is Grookey, and the fire type is Scorbunny.
Yep.
I'm going to choose Scorbunny.
That's what I was going to choose as well.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I might choose Grookey, though, because the evolutions leaked. So I may go.
I didn't look at it. I like to keep my spoilers locked away.
I'm not really sure if it was a leak or if it was actually detailed, but the details are out there. And I'll just say Brett wasn't happy with his choice of Sobble because he thought it was going to turn into a dragon. It is not. So yeah, that's the Nintendo Direct or the Pokemon Direct. So we got the release date and no Nintendo Switch edition, which I found odd because if I was going to guess one was going to get a Switch bundle, I thought that would be the one.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they've confirmed the rumors that there's a more powerful Switch coming. So
yeah, they did.
I don't know if they are just waiting on that to be the next big thing. That's probably the one that I'm going to be buying.
Yeah?
Yep.
What if it doesn't come out in time? If it doesn't come out till next year, I don't see it coming out anytime soon.
Well, next year I'm going to be very poor because we have 2 new consoles that are coming out. Maybe 3. And is Google Stadia coming out next year?
So Google Stadia is a bit of... It's a full discussion we need to have because the details are still being brought to us. So there are some Google Stadia's full releases next year, but the Founders Edition is this November. The only way you can get Google Stadia this year is if you get the Founders Edition. Otherwise, everything else Google Stadia is in 2020.
And they did say that the Founders Edition won't last for a long time, so...
Yeah, so we're going to move on to Google Stadia now and start that coverage. So Google Stadia had their own live stream on YouTube called Stadia Connect, and I'm going to read somebody put together over at Eurogamer, a couple of people, Chris Tapsell and Matthew Reynolds, put together this whole list that I'm going to rely on. I watched the stream. I thought that it was actually a really good presentation. I think they delivered a very solid message there, but they're still working on things, so they could only go so far. As far as presentations go, it was a good one. A lot better than some of the presentations we've been seeing recently. I'm not going to mention any with names, but yeah.
So we've been pretty negative on Stadia because we had some serious reservations, and I still have some reservations. A lot of this is server based, which is awesome if you have connection, but say, for example, if you have if your phone I have the Pixel 3, and they said that it's available to be on the Pixel 3 using the Chrome browser, which
No, actually on the Pixel, it is going to have its own app.
Okay. So Pixel
that's
will
Google's
have
device, so it's going to play best on the Pixel.
Right.
On
so
Android and iOS, you can use the Chrome browser.
Which I have to hand it to Google. The connectivity and the way how they made this work is very smart from their business end because they really want you to use Chrome. It's supported for Chrome. And then this big service is all through all their stuff. And the big trend in gaming lately has been we want more people to play on everything, which I'm fully in support of. So this one has connectivity with your TV, your laptop, your tablet, and your smartphone, starting with the Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3a. And then they're going to be moving on to additional smartphone options afterwards. They showed off their new controllers, which...
Really nice. Really nice controller.
I'd really like to get my hands on them to see how they fit. Because
We're going into E3 here, but Google was there talking about Stadia. They did a couple interviews. Jeff Keighley interviewed him on the E3 Coliseum. So definitely check those out from E3. But in the Stadia Connect, this is basically, if you don't know what Stadia is, this is basically what they explained there. So Google Stadia is Google's idea of what next-gen gaming will look like. It's a streaming service, yes, but it's also a platform of its own, with genuinely vast potential for increasing the size, scope, and visual fidelity of games. And if it works well, it's a means for people to seamlessly move from watching games to playing them and back. There's no Google Stadia console, and no physical box for you to buy that plays games. Stadia, as Phil Harrison puts it, is a place. It will run wherever YouTube is, which means on smart TVs, laptops, tablets, mobile phones, desktop PCs, or streamed from the Google Stadia controller, more on that below, and displayed via Chromecast on an old TV in your living room. So it's a little tricky to explain, but here are 3 key points to take away from the initial reveal. And so this is exactly what Google Stadia is. It's a service like YouTube or Netflix that lets you play games anywhere you have a decent internet connection at up to 4K, 60 frames per second, and they have plans for 8K and beyond in the future. And as a result, it's also a huge shift upwards in the power available to developers. As Phil Harrison puts it, the go-to example would be Battle Royale going from hundreds of players to thousands of players, or even tens of thousands of players. Whether that's actually fun or not is a different debate, but technologically, this is just a headline-grabbing number that you can imagine. It's designed to drastically reduce the friction of modern-day gaming. According to Google, everything loads in 5 seconds or less. You can buy a game and instantly play it within 5 seconds. So you turn on Stadia, and you can be playing something new or old and seamlessly move between watching and playing. It's built around the idea that the future of gaming is having the ability to watch and play games in one place. This is Phil talking. Our vision for our platform is to converge those two worlds together so that you can be watching a game, click, and be playing a game, and vice versa. You can simultaneously play a game in 4K 60 frames per second, be streaming it to YouTube in 4K 60 frames per second, and invite your friends or viewers or specific people to join you, or go join them. You can also get extremely granular with this too, challenging viewers to complete a specific mission exactly how you did it, or clicking a link in the YouTube walkthrough to go exactly to that point in the game. It's very closely integrated with YouTube.
So it's kind of like Steam, kind of like the Switch, kind of like any like Twitch or Mixer.
Right. They didn't really go into the details, the nitty-gritty of this stuff in the Kinect. They basically just introduced you to it, told you where you'd be playing with it, and they also did price, release date, they debuted the controller, and they gave us a whole list of games, and then they announced the plans, and then they announced that, well, when we get to the plans, they included a game. They showed a few game trailers. So overall, like I said, it was a really good event. But the controller, so the way it works is as follows. Google has data centers, places with vast amounts of hardware that actually power Stadia around the world. Turning on Stadia like you turn on YouTube or Netflix or anything else to watch
They
or
said,
play.
what, 16 countries to start with? I think.
16 or 12.
I think it's 16.
16, yeah, you're probably right. So let's see. It'll connect you to one of those, and it's those data centers that power the games you're playing. So you pick up a controller, press a button, and all the hard work is handled in some data center somewhere. So the only hardware that Google is launching is its Stadia controller. And so...
But they also have the Chromecast
HD.
Yeah.
That's part of the Founders bundle. So we'll talk about that bundle in a bit. The Stadia controller is pretty similar to most game controllers. It's very minimalist design to it.
It kind of has to be in order to integrate with all the games that we're familiar with, too.
picture the DualShock 4, Xbox One, and Switch Pro controller all put into one thing. But a Google Stadia controller is used to play on non-smart TVs via Chromecast, and the Stadia controller connects directly to the Stadia service over Wi-Fi, not to the Chromecast. The Chromecast receives the data from the Stadia service and displays it on your TV. So a Google Stadia controller is not necessary for any screen, however. You can actually use a USB controller or Xbox, PlayStation, third party, or anything else that's USB to play Google Stadia. The only screen needing a workaround for a non-Stadia controller is the non-smart TV, and you'll need to play on a device with an HDMI output like your laptop and connect that to your old TV to avoid using the Stadia Chromecast combo.
The technical aspect of it really blows me away, honestly.
I believe they said Bluetooth controllers are also supported, and keyboard and mouse.
Yes. There was a lot of information to take in. I've watched it, and just how they decided to work this in is really, really clever. So I'm actually really impressed with how they've done this.
If you've listened to the show in recent weeks, since their initial reveal, I believe it was March or April, we have been 100% negative about Google Stadia, and that is solely because of how they came out talking about their product. And they changed that in this one. This one was more wholesome.
I think their tone was mostly negatively received from that first announcement.
To be fair, that presentation was at GDC, the Game Developers Conference. So that one was more tailored for developers to see and understand and learn about. And this was the actual first one that they did for consumers. So you get the more lighthearted, wholesome.
Yeah, not aggressive,
Connect.
Arrogant in your face, like saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're going to get rid of your console." I mean, a lot of us are. I mean, here we're mostly diehard console gamers.
Yeah, in the GDC one, they're trying to convince developers to, hey, develop for us. We don't need consoles.
Because
Those are a thing of the
that
past.
takes a lot of work. But the technical aspects of it, and they actually had quite the list of different companies that they were working with, as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Like,
We'll talk about the games when we get there. So, more about the controller. The Stadia controller has all the usual modern gamepad functions, plus two new ones. A share function, which controls things like streaming your game as you play and so on, and the other is a voice command function that uses Google Assistant technology. So if you're using the Stadia controller, you can use voice commands, and Harrison did an example. He said, "Hey Google, I'd like to play game X with..."
Now his Pixel's trying to listen to it.
Patrick, and it will set up a multiplayer game with the players you've listed immediately.
Yeah, and that's really cool. And a lot of us actually...
when I said that, my Pixel started to listen. So I had to fix that.
Yeah, I was waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that.
So I'm also one of those kind of people who's slightly suspicious of all of our devices listening into us. So I'm slowly getting over it because the Google Assistant's pretty cool, but it still kind of creeps me out at the same time. Everything's watching and listening, and I'm just like, I don't know how to feel about this. But as far as this goes, the voice function works really well with Google Assistant. I use it all the time, especially if I'm doing hands-free stuff. So if you're looking for your friends to play, you just say their name and it connects to them.
Which is groundbreaking. This has not been done before.
So you don't have to drop through a menu into another menu, search through your friends list, hope that they're online, and go dig them up, and then send the invite. It just takes all the work out of it.
So here are some of the Google Stadia tech details for some of you nerds out there that want to know about this stuff. So the CPU is custom server class. It's 2.7 gigahertz hyper-threaded CPU. The exact number of cores in the CPU is unknown. The GPU is a custom AMD GPU with HBM2 memory and 56 compute units capable of 10.7 teraflops. Memory is 16 gigabytes of RAM with up to 484 gigabytes a second of performance. And the storage is SSD cloud storage. Now, all of the things I just said is going to be changed frequently because they said that Google Stadia will always be next gen. It will never have a life cycle it'll have a life cycle of what the components are, but it's a blade server. So as things age, they just pop
An
a
update.
piece of it's all modular, these blades, and you just take a piece out and put a new one in, and they update it as soon as the new tech comes out. So you will always be playing in next gen. So as soon as games start going 8K, I'm seeing Google Stadia as being they're going to be doing it first, right?
So I'm always yammering on about the value to the consumer. I think this is definitely going to be the best one as far as the value goes because you don't have to keep upgrading. It's just there. Again, I'm tentatively excited because I started off really negative because of the way how they came out, but I was waiting to see more information. Also, as somebody who does not reliably have excellent connection with my phone, I don't want to be stuck buying a game and then not being able to play it because I can't connect to the servers unless I'm in a place with secured Wi-Fi because you don't use public.
Right. So we'll talk about some of the games then. This is the official games list of the press release that came with the Stadia Connect. So, up first we got Bandai Namco, and they're bringing Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Then you have Bethesda. They're bringing Doom Eternal, which isn't even out yet. That's going to launch with this. Or the game will probably be out before this launches, because I think that's...
Let me see your list. There's one I want to announce.
You want to announce these? Go ahead, you do it. Do that whole list.
No, just one of the one.
No, you do the whole thing.
Fine.
Start with Bethesda.
All right, so we have Bethesda, Doom Eternal, Doom 2016, Rage 2, and The Elder. Scrolls Online, Wolfenstein, Youngblood. Bungie, Destiny 2, which they had a huge feature on that.
Mm-hmm.
Unannounced Capcom games. We have Coat Sync, Get Packed, which looks like a cute little indie game.
That was one of the games that they did a trailer for.
Yes.
Inside in the Stadia Connect.
Codemasters Grid, Deep Silver Metro Exodus, Drool Thumper, EA, probably all of them. They have.
You'd probably see FIFA and all the sports titles over there.
Yeah,
probably their whole catalog would be over there.
Games unannounced.
I wouldn't be surprised if what's their subscription service, Origin?
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if that came over as well. Or at least the console variant, EA Play, something like that. I could see that coming over.
I'm sure. Well, they're definitely going to look for the best return on their investment, so that's definitely going to be involved. Giant Software Farming Simulator 19, which they had a little clip of that. Big combine. I'm skipping this one because this is the one I'm the most excited for. Enway Games, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, Rockstar unannounced games. I imagine there'll be
Red Dead, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, GTA 5 will continue to be strongly
#1 seller in the world.
Yep.
Or top 5, I should say.
Sega Football Manager, SNK Samurai Showdown, Square Enix, Final Fantasy 15, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
I think the Final Fantasy 15 was the complete edition. Did it say that?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised. They've been offering a lot of, in their trailer, they had a lot of the complete editions listed. NBA 2K and Borderlands 3, Tequila Works Guilt, which they had a trailer about that, which looked pretty dark.
Yeah, what was that one? Do you remember?
That's the little kid one with the bullying.
Kind of like...
they're watching, so it's a little horror.
Yeah, that looks creepy.
So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that one. Kevin's favorite, Mortal Kombat 11. THQ Darksiders Genesis, Ubisoft Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Just Dance, and Tom Clancy games, including Division 2.
Yeah, what was it? Ghost Recon Breakpoint?
Yep.
They had a live trailer. Or they had a trailer in
Yep.
the Stadia Connect. And they actually, in that trailer, they showed off a feature. If you caught it, when you're seeing gameplay, it's only a few seconds, but you see gameplay, and then if you look at the right of the screen, you can see other streamers' names and their videos as well. So you actually get to see, not their faces, you're seeing all of their gameplay. So
I'm really curious to see how that
I'm
works.
wondering, like, if you're a viewer, if you can just easily switch through and make one of theirs the main stream, you know?
I'd imagine probably. There's your Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Division 2, Trials Rising, and The Crew 2. And the one that I'm the most excited for is Larian Studios' Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
This is why...
That was a reveal trailer that was done on Google Stadia. And it's only coming to Stadia and PC.
So that game is exactly the reason why we'll be getting Stadia. Or using Stadia, at least for this. Although I'm pretty sure when they gave the price point, I'm pretty sure that I'm just going to commit to the service.
So let's talk about the release date and price point. But before we do, the entire list of games that you just heard, none of them are exclusive to Stadia. So they don't have any. You have to have Stadia to play it. The closest thing they have is Baldur's Gate 3, right? Because they have Stadia and PC only. So if you don't have PC to game on, and you don't plan on dropping $600 plus in here in the States anyway, for a decent PC to play on, it's not going to rival what Stadia can do because they're going to be next gen.
And $600 is a little on the light side for a gaming rig.
That's the lightest you can go to play games at a moderate frame rate. But at that point, I would just have to recommend Stadia to you because here's the price for it.
Yeah. So this is what I was getting at earlier, but go ahead.
Google Stadia has a release date of November with first access by purchasing the Founders Edition bundle, and that is $129.99 US. If you're not getting that, you have to wait for a base model that's coming out in 2020. And the Founders Edition includes the following: Chromecast Ultra hardware for 4K and HDR streaming, a limited edition Night Blue controller. This controller is only available with the Founders Edition, and it will sell out. So if you're interested in getting that controller, a Chromecast 4K Ultra, I think the Chromecast Ultra by itself is like $80. Mm-hmm. So for $130, you're getting that plus this limited edition controller. You get 3 months of the subscription to Stadia Pro, which offers you 4K and HDR streaming and access to all of the Destiny 2 content. So they partnered with Bungie, and if you get this Founders Edition, you get a 3-month subscription to Stadia Pro, plus you get all of the Destiny 2 content, including the future season passes. So that is a great deal right there. You get 3 months of the Stadia Pro subscription for a friend. This is called the Buddy Pass. So, and then you get discounts on Stadia game purchases. Think Xbox Live Gold, think PS Plus. How if you're looking in the stores, if you're familiar with that, then you will see from time to time a game's price, and then it'll have like the PS Plus price or the Xbox Live Gold price at a discounted rate. And Stadia is going to do the same thing. And you get first access to a Stadia username. So when you get the Founders Edition, you're going to be getting first access to create the username that you want, and you don't have to worry about all the numbers and symbols and stuff. So you get right in there. What? We are having more technical difficulties with our camera today. I do apologize for that. Kailey's going to try to unhook it and plug it back in. So
30 seconds ago.
While I'm working on that,
So
what do you think? What do you think of that bundle?
I think that's incredibly valuable. They said that the value for the individual pieces is about $300. So getting that for $130 is really great. I believe that they said it's the pro. So there's two different models. You have the base model. And this is actually where I find the value in it. They have the base model. So if you just want to buy the game, you can get the game. You can play it anytime. It's not a license. As far as I know, it's not a licensing thing. You have the game once you buy it. And then the pro subscription is $9.99 a month, which is pretty on par for target for cost for a lot of different subscription models. And that offers 4K, 60 frames a second, HDR, and 5.1 surround sound. They also offer discounts on game purchases and free games, including all the Destiny 2 content.
So the Destiny 2 content, right? Because we're talking a little bit about Bungie and what they did. And so right after the Google Stadia conference, Bungie did their own. And they detailed the future of Destiny 2 now that they're self-publishing. So what they're doing, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But basically they're doing what is called New Light, and that is going to give you Destiny's going free to play basically. So you can play all of the year one content, which is the base game, plus the first two expansions, which was Curse of Osiris and Warmind, I believe is what the other one was called. And I don't know. I didn't play them because I dropped out. But now that I'm getting back into it, New Light, you're no longer required to have to play. You're no longer required to have to play it and grind it out to get to where the other players are. When you get to New Light, you can immediately level up and do the things that the other players are doing. So, like their new Gambit mode that I actually haven't jumped into that seems really cool. You can jump right into that if you want to and start earning gear and stuff. And if you want to go and start doing raids and stuff, you can do that apparently. So there's a lot of information out there about what the changes are coming. And one of the things that they said was they no longer wanted to make the players, they wanted to make them able to do whatever they wanted to do in Destiny. And they wanted to change the way that you go forward. And they didn't want to make you have to pay up front for your Destiny experience anymore. So as they release an expansion like the upcoming Shadowkeep that they announced, if you want to pay for Shadowkeep, you can pay for Shadowkeep, but you'll never be locked out of content because of it. So if you don't want to do Shadowkeep, you don't have to. And when the seasons are coming, like when a new season event happens, you can pay the $5 or $10 or whatever to get into that event if you want to. But if it doesn't appeal to you, you don't have to, and you can still do all the other stuff. So they're really changing what Destiny is, and in my opinion, and I'm a huge Destiny fan, so take it with a grain of salt, but I think this is an incredible thing to do, and it really changes what Destiny is and will be going forward.
I think as again, value to the customer, I think that the point is they put a lot of time and money into developing for it and making it so that people can choose where they want to play, what they want to do, and not locking them into, well, here's this, you have to spend $200 plus to get all the content that you might not want to drop on it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just taking a chance on a random game, it's overwhelming to look at how much money investment that for these seasonal games that you might have to contribute. Yeah. And especially with all the different subscription services offering a lot of really excellent deals. Why would you?
And I think that Bungie sees that, and they, in their stream, they mentioned not very subtly how it was nice to finally be on their own and be able to make these decisions, basically saying that Activision was the one that made them do the pricing that they did.
It wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
So now that they're on their own, I'm not going to say yes or no that that's what happened. But now that they're on their own and they've said that out loud, it's all on them now. So this is them saying, we want you to be able to come in and not have to spend hundreds of dollars to play our game, because they said, basically what they said was, now the game is being developed by us and played by you, and we're taking your feedback and making the game that you want, and nobody else is telling us how to price it. So
this is kind of like the Radiohead moment of gaming, because Radiohead
is a rock band.
For those who don't know, they several years ago they had a pay what you want type of thing. When they went, they dropped off their label and they said, we're publishing it ourselves, pay what you want. And they actually made a lot of money. A lot of fans, a lot of dedicated people said, okay, well, I love your stuff and we're going to support you. We want this to work out. We're happy to be part of your community. And I feel like this is kind of that moment for gaming. And if this works, this has the huge opportunity for studios to say, hey, we might be able to do this on our own without being locked into the rules and regulations and stipulations of publishers.
And the good thing for developers, like Stadia is a great thing for developers, because Stadia is another platform that they can sell their games. And Google has said to these developers, look, develop your game and we'll worry about how to get it out there.
Yeah.
So go make your game, give us your game, we'll sell it. So they don't have to worry about all the networking and everything. Google's doing all of that.
And anybody who's existed on the internet or any sort of technical devices, Google's brand.
Yeah.
Google and Alphabet have so much money,
right, and
to support everything. And that's a huge thing too, is they put a lot of money into the servers, making sure that the server quality is there.
Yeah, they put $700 million into the data centers. So, also, knowing Google, we do also know that Google sometimes tends to pull the plug on projects.
Yeah.
Think Google, what was it, Plus?
Google Plus still exists, but nobody uses it.
Right.
The Google Glasses, good idea.
Phil Harrison has said Google has a long-term approach for Stadia. They aren't looking for results anytime soon. They're building this thing slowly.
They've been developing this for, 20 years?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but they're building from right now slowly, and they're probably looking at a 10-year overall where they're at, and then they'll decide where to go.
But the way how they seamlessly integrated all of their properties that they presently have, including YouTube and Chrome, one, it reinforces the properties that they already own, directs more traffic, makes them more money, but it also is stuff that conveniently already exists probably on your devices as it is. So they're easy to get. They don't require a lot of space. Just you download the app, pretty much.
So as it is streaming, we should definitely talk about speed requirements for Google Stadia. So Google's requirements, and this was one of the things, there was two major things I was looking for in the Stadia Connect, and that was the price point, the subscription cost, and how much the controller was going to be. And the Founders Pack actually just blew me away with how cheap it was. I couldn't believe it.
And controllers are pretty much standard price for controller, no matter what.
And the cost of the subscription being $10 a month blew me away too. I did not expect it was going to be that cheap. So naturally, as soon as I saw that, I pre-ordered the Founders Edition in seconds, because the controller is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's a Bluetooth controller, so you can use it and on other things if you wanted to. But so here are the speed requirements. They say to play Google Stadia, you will need a minimum requirement of 10 megabits per second, which is pretty much doable in most places. I'm not going to say it's doable everywhere, because broadband restrictions are varied, but in most instances, 10 megabits is going to be doable. Now, I'm not talking about data caps, because depending on where you live, we live here in the United States, and we have a thing called data caps, which say you have 100 gigabytes of data. If you use that, you have to pay a lot of money if you go over that. So you got to be careful Other countries in the world, not so much. Other countries in the world have much greater speeds than we do. So 10 megabits per second will get you 720p quality, 60 frames per second still, but only stereo surround. So it's your basic display, and that's for 10 megabits. If you have 20 megabits per second, then you will get full 1080p, 60 frames per second, HDR, and 5.1 surround sound. So the difference from 10 to 20 is pretty huge. And then for the maximum quality, you will need 35 megabits per second, and that will give you actually 4K quality screen resolution, 60 frames per second, HDR, and 5.1 surround sound. So 35 megabits per second where we live is nothing. It's nothing because we're approaching gigabit speed. We don't have it yet, but
as long as you have a good connection, like if you're in a building that doesn't get good wireless connection or anything like that, which does happen, or if you have like dead zones and things, you're going to have to worry about that. But
also, I did a speed test on my Pixel phone on my cell phone network, which is 4G. We don't have 5G yet, but pretty much when 5G becomes standard, everybody will be over 35 megabits. But at 4G, I did a speed test, and I had good connectivity, and I think I pinged, or my results were 24 megabits per second. And so that was not on Wi-Fi. That was actually using my network. So I would be able to get 1080p on my phone off of my network. So I think that's really cool. So I was very shocked that the speed requirements came in so low. I was actually expecting them to be much higher. And I do appreciate that they were thinking about people that had slower connections so that even they would be able to play at 60 frames per second across the board and not have to sacrifice the play for resolution. And even at 720p, if you're playing on a smaller screen, it's going to look great. Yeah.
And like your tablet or your cell phone, that's going to be fine. I know that our resolution has increased significantly since I first started gaming, but
yeah, for sure.
But 720, that's not bad at all. Like, especially if you're sitting close to your device.
So here are some other things to know about Google Stadia. Battery life for gaming on phones will be drastically increased. All you are doing is playing a video, so playing Assassin's Creed or Doom or any heavy game on your phone is using less battery than if you're playing on a mobile game. And you can play for 10 hours.
That's incredible.
It's not on smart TVs yet, although the plan is that it will be. For now, we're just focusing on Chromecast, but from a technical and functional perspective, it's wherever YouTube is. Again, a fundamental part of the platform is that it's screen agnostic. The idea is anywhere you can log into Google and watch YouTube, you can play and watch via Stadia. Developer buy-in is looking great. Google has apparently been talked to... Sorry, my phone did the thing again. Google has apparently been talking to developers about this for years, and they founded their own first-party studio called Stadia Games and Entertainment. But there's no news on game announcements from that studio or any Stadia exclusives for now. Jade Raymond, formerly of EA, is a VP at Google now and seems likely to be heading up that studio. So they will have some exclusives coming maybe in a year or two, and you can expect the Stadia Connect to be a mainstay in YouTube game announcements. Or Stadia game announcements, I should say.
I was going to say.
Google claims that it is and will be very easy for developers to bring their existing games over to Stadia. Stadia will have full crossplay with other platforms and split-screen couch co-op, multiplayer without compromising any fidelity. Google will have its own Stadia store where you can discover and find games, but the idea too is that anywhere there's a Stadia link, a YouTube video, Google search results in an article, or shared via WhatsApp or Discord, you'll be able to view, buy, and hop straight into the game. Importantly, Harrison claims Stadia will have very robust approaches to community moderation. You can be assured we will be best in class parental controls and digital gamer well-being controls that will allow parents to manage what their kids play, who they play with, and when they play.
That's awesome too, because
It
in today's day and age, you really got to be on the ball with making sure that you keep an eye on what your kids are.
Too many creepers out there.
Yeah.
As for data privacy, a big concern for those understandably somewhat skeptical of Google, we're absolutely committed to everything being at the user's control, and the same level of control and functionality that you would expect from Google will apply to us as well, Harrison says. So there's a little bit more information, and that came from a interview with Digital Foundry. So, yeah, Google Stadia. The free edition, which is the base edition, is coming in 2020. That edition will not have discounts or anything like that. Basically, it's an online store. Think like Steam or something like that,
Yep.
and where you can purchase your games there, and you can use your keyboard or mouse or Bluetooth controller to play the game there.
But without having to download the client.
Yeah, you never have to download. You never have to download a game. You never have to install a patch. You never have to download a patch. It's always ready to go.
That's the biggest appeal for me, because there's nothing I hate more than wanting to go hop onto a game. I'm a very busy person, so when I want to actually game, I just want to game. I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, think about it. How many times have you gone to play the game and then it was like, oh, downloading patch? And then what do you
every
doing
single
for the
time you
next
get a
20
new
minutes?
game?
Yeah.
The day one patch.
Day one patches,
there's 23
all of
gigs.
that.
Okay, well, I'm clearly not playing for the next hour.
Yeah, it's very appealing to be able to go and just click on an icon, and within 5 seconds,
Boom.
you're playing the game. There's no loading screens, nothing. You just play the game.
Yeah, and the mobility aspect is what I said is like the Switch, where it's there. You can do device to device as you like.
Like the big appeal, and we're going to talk about it in one of the next upcoming shows, but next gen is on the horizon, and both Sony and Microsoft have revealed some of the specs for their upcoming next gen systems, and it's looking like a big feature that they're touting is no loading screens in the next generation, and it would already seem that Google Stadia is there already.
Yeah,
So
ahead of the curve.
they're already ahead of them, and you got to think of it this way too. When you're looking at consoles, and I'm not advocating for Stadia here, I'm just pointing out what's necessary to point out, and that is you're looking at these consoles, and they're $500, $600, $400.
Plus their
And this is
subscription
US.
service.
Plus, they have their own subscriptions that you need in order to play online, and you have to buy the games too. Now, Google Stadia has in its Pro plan the $9.99 a month one, that you need that if you want to play in 4K HDR. You need that subscription that unlocks that for you. Otherwise, you're playing in 1080p in the free base Stadia. So Stadia Pro is 4K gaming, plus it does have a library of games. The first one is Destiny 2. They haven't announced any other games yet, probably because they're still working on that. But they said that it will be an ever-growing library of free games for you to have in your library. And as long as you're a subscriber, you will always have those games in your library until the end of Stadia, or until you decide to
Give up
stop.
gaming.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, for $130 coming in, you get to pick your name early. You get the exclusive controller. You get the Chromecast Ultimate, and you get 3 months of Stadia Pro. Plus, the first game is Destiny 2, the complete edition, all of the content of Destiny if you're a Destiny fan. Also, Bungie announced that Destiny is now cross-save, so if you play it on PlayStation 4, Xbox, or PC, and you want to give Stadia a try, you get to bring your save file with you. So
They
you
did
get all
have
of
an
that content.
asterisk on one of them saying,
Yeah,
with
they had an
permission.
asterisk on PlayStation
Yep.
at the Stadia Connect, but when Bungie started their live stream, that was one of the first things they said was in the 11th hour they worked out the deal and Sony was on board. So another thing that Bungie announced was there will be no more console or platform exclusives going forward. So PlayStation 4 will no longer be getting all bonus content. All content will be on all platforms going forward, and that's going to please
I feel like
a lot of
this
players.
is going to be the trend going forward because we're kind of sick of being stuck in camps.
Yeah.
We want to be able to play with our friends whenever we want. So the next big thing is going to be the cross-platform, like Dauntless, being able to just play with all your buddies.
Yeah, Dauntless is cross-platform, cross-progression, so you can play at any time on any platform, and it's always your character, and you're always earning your stuff, and you're playing with your friends on any platform.
So I foresee the next
that is the future.
mode going to be you pick up your phone, you're playing your phone, you have your downtime, then you switch over to your TV when you get home, play with your pals. I think I'm really getting more excited about it. And again, the cost-benefit analysis, you see like it's $130 for the Founders Edition, and you get the first 3 months. So the rest of the year...
And the Buddy Pass. Your buddy gets 3 months as well of the Pro.
But then you have... I mean, it's $10 a month after that. So like after the first 3 months run out, it's $120 a year.
And think about it this way. It costs you $10 a month to always play next gen.
Yeah.
Versus dropping $500 or $600
on the console.
And the console is going to get old in a couple of years, and Stadia will always be new.
Fresh. But there's always downsides. You are limited to the internet connection.
This is the biggest downside.
So
it's not going to work for everyone, but if you have the available specs and you exceed those specs, this is something you definitely want to take a look at. So that is show 1. And this is, I think we did a pretty good job talking about the Pokemon Direct, Google Stadia, and Bungie's future with Destiny 2. And all of that was actually prior to E3. And so next week, we're going to talk about Nintendo's E3 Direct and their following Treehouse Live events. And we're going to talk about Square Enix's conference and all of our thoughts on what they have done and what they did throughout the rest of the show. And but for now, that's all the time we have. And I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching when you could, when we weren't having technical difficulties. We do apologize for that. And thank you for joining me tonight. And soon, if the boys survive, they will be back to talk about Xbox.
Oh,
for sure. I'm saving that for show 4.
Yeah, that's their show.
That's all that. I know they want to do that the most. But thank you all, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.